The cocaine was logged into evidence at 1:17 in the morning. The cloud upload showing it in Officer Victor Harlan's pocket finished at 12:38. Assistant District Attorney Mara Whitfield did not know that yet. She only knew the blue lights had appeared behind her on Ashford Avenue, cutting through the rain and filling the inside of her car with red, then blue, then red again. It was close to midnight. She had left the courthouse after 14 hours in a witness room with no windows. A racketeering trial was set for Monday. Her briefcase was full of prep notes, financial charts, and witness statements that still needed one more pass before morning. She was tired, not careless. Her speed held at 35. Her lane position was clean. Her turn signal came on before every movement. The dark gray sedan had no broken lights, no expired tag, and no reason to be stopped. Mara looked once at the rearview mirror. The cruiser stayed close. Too close. She had expected something like this eventually. 2 weeks earlier, her office had secured indictments against 3 narcotics detectives accused of stealing cash, falsifying search returns, and pressuring witnesses. Since then, the calls had started. Silent ones first, then blocked numbers. Then a cruiser sitting too long near the entrance to her subdivision. Mara had not filed a complaint she could not prove. She had installed proof instead. A dual-lens camera sat beneath her rearview mirror, one lens on the road, one on the cabin. It uploaded continuously to a private cloud archive. A black lapel pin on her blazer held a second camera, smaller and closer, angled toward anyone who stood at her window. When the cruiser lights came on, she touched the pin once. A faint vibration confirmed recording. Mara slowed, signaled, and pulled beneath the bright canopy of an all-night fuel station. She wanted light. She wanted cameras. She wanted a place where the rain could not erase everything. She placed the car in park, windows down, engine off, hands visible on the wheel. Behind her, Officer Victor Harlan stepped out of the cruiser with his rain jacket open and his flashlight already raised. In the passenger seat, Officer Nolan Price looked at the patrol screen. Clean plate. No warrant. No stolen vehicle alert. No equipment warning. He had also seen the driving. No swerve. No line crossing. But Harlan had said she crossed the center line, and Nolan had learned that correcting him in the car was different from knowing the truth in his own head. Harlan approached the driver's window slowly. The flashlight hit Mara's eyes first, then her face, then the tailored blazer, then the briefcase on the passenger seat, license and registration. "Good evening, officer," Mara said. "Can you tell me the reason for the stop? You crossed the center line?" "I did not." Harlan lowered the flashlight just enough for her to see the smile. "That is not how this works." Mara kept both hands on the wheel. "My wallet is in the center console. I'm going to reach for it with my right hand." "Fancy car," Harlan said. "Late night, wrong side of town." Mara did not answer that. She opened the console slowly, removed her wallet, and handed over her license, registration, and insurance. Harlan looked at the license. His expression changed when he read the name. "Mara Whitfield," he said. "District Attorney's Office." "Assistant District Attorney." "Right. The accountability lawyer." His voice made the title sound like an insult. Mara looked at his badge. "Officer Harlan." He leaned closer to the open window and breathed in through his nose with theatrical care. Then he said the line she had expected. "I smell marijuana." "There is no marijuana in this vehicle." "You sure about that?" "I am sure. I do not consent to any search of my person, my property, or my vehicle." Harlan's smile widened. "When I smell contraband, I do not need consent. Step out." Mara paused for half a second. Not because she did not know the law, because she did. Then she unbuckled, opened the door, and stepped into the cold air beneath the canopy. "I am complying with your order to step out," she said. Harlan ordered her hands onto the roof. She placed them flat on the wet metal. Nolan stood near the cruiser, watching. Harlan patted her down harder than necessary. He opened the driver's door and began searching. Receipts, charging cord, lip balm, case notes from her briefcase. He tossed each item like it had already disappointed him. Then he moved to the passenger side. The cabin camera saw his left hand drop to his cargo pocket. The lapel camera saw his shoulder turn. Harlan palmed a small clear bag, swept his hand under the passenger seat, and lifted it back into the light. "Well," he said, "look what we have here." Nolan's face went still. Mara looked at the bag. "Then Harlan." Her voice stayed low. "You just made this bigger than a traffic stop." Harlan grabbed her wrists and cuffed her. "Felony possession," he said. "Your career is over." He pushed her into the back of the cruiser and shut the door. Through the rain-streaked glass, Mara could still see the small red light beneath her rearview mirror. Still blinking. Still uploading. At the 9th precinct, Officer Victor Harlan took his time. That was the first punishment. He did not rush booking. He did not ask the desk sergeant to process the charge cleanly. He walked Mara Whitfield through each step, as if the building were a stage and she had been brought there to be seen. He stood too close during the mugshot. Chin up. The camera flashed. Too much attitude. Again. The camera flashed again. Turn left. Flash. Turn right. Flash. Mara gave him nothing. No raised voice. No curse. No visible anger. The precinct cameras watched her stand still while Harlan tried to turn procedure into humiliation. Officer Nolan Price stood near the booking room door with his arms folded and his eyes on the floor. He had seen the stop. He had seen the empty passenger seat before Harlan leaned into the car. He had seen Harlan's left hand move. Now he watched Mara's fingers pressed onto the glass scanner one at a time. Harlan pushed harder than necessary, enough to make the joints whiten. Mara looked at Nolan once. Not pleading, not accusing, just marking that he was there. Harlan handed her one phone call. "Make it useful," he said. "The DA's office may not pick up after the morning news." Mara lifted the receiver and dialed from memory. She did not call District Attorney Celia Grant. Not yet. She called Graham Voss. He answered on the third ring, voice rough with sleep. "Voss. Graham, it's Mara Whitfield. I'm in holding at the 9th precinct. Fabricated felony possession. Officer Victor Harlan planted narcotics during a traffic stop." Silence sharpened on the line. "Are you safe?" "For the moment. Do not answer questions. I'm on my way." "Listen first," Mara said. "Do not expose the video when you get here." Another pause. "What video?" "Dual cabin camera, lapel camera, cloud upload. It caught the plant." Graham exhaled once. "Then we end this tonight?" "No," Mara said. "Tonight he still has room to call it confusion. Tonight internal affairs lets him resign. I want the report. I want the affidavit. I want him under oath." Across the booking room, Harlan watched her with a lazy smile, thinking he was hearing fear disguised as legal talk. Graham understood. "You want perjury. I want the system to read his lie in his own signature." When Graham arrived with a bail bond notice and a clean suit jacket, he performed outrage the way good lawyers perform restraint. Loud enough for Harlan to enjoy, careful enough to reveal nothing. By sunrise, the mugshot had leaked. The headline moved faster than the facts. Assistant District Attorney arrested in late-night drug stop. At 8 in the morning, Mara sat across from District Attorney Celia Grant in a private office with the blinds closed. Grant looked at the muted television, then at Mara. "The mayor has called twice. The union is already outside the precinct." On the screen, Union President Paul Reddick stood behind microphones with Harlan over his shoulder, calling him a decorated veteran who had taken drugs off the street without fear of titles. Mara watched without changing expression. "Place me on administrative leave," she said. Grant looked stunned. "You want that?" "I want standard protocol. If you terminate me, they say the office believed him. If you defend me now, they say we are protecting our own. Suspend me pending hearing. Let the report stand long enough to become evidence." Grant lowered the remote. "You have something." "I have enough. Not yet." For 6 days, Mara stayed silent. Reporters waited outside her building. Commentators replayed the mugshot. Old defense attorneys questioned her cases on television. The police union demanded her firing. She answered none of it. In Graham's office, she watched the footage again and again. Harlan's hand. The cargo pocket. The small bag appearing before the search ever reached the floorboard. The cloud manifest showed the upload completed before booking began. The fuel station clerk, Nina Calder, provided canopy footage showing Mara's windows down, hands visible, and no erratic movement after the stop. Then discovery arrived. Graham spread the packet across the conference table. Harlan's sworn report said Mara crossed the center line, smelled of marijuana, appeared nervous, and hid narcotics beneath the passenger seat. Nolan Price's supplemental report confirmed the odor and the discovery. Mara read Nolan's signature twice. That one hurt more than the headline. By signing, he had done more than stay quiet. He had lent the lie his name. The night before the hearing, Nolan sat alone in his apartment with the supplemental report open on his kitchen table. His phone buzzed with a message from a union contact. Stay consistent. He stared at the words until the screen went dark. Then he looked at his own signature and understood that silence was no longer empty. It had become testimony. By 9 the next morning, courtroom 4 had no room left for whispers. Reporters filled the back row. Union attorneys sat behind Officer Victor Harlan. Assistant District Attorney Mara Whitfield sat at the defense table beside Graham Voss, wearing a charcoal suit, her hands folded over a yellow legal pad with nothing written on it. She did not look at Harlan. She looked at the bench. Judge Miriam Vale entered without ceremony, took her seat, and scanned the room once. This is a preliminary hearing, she said, not a press conference. Anyone who forgets that will wait outside. No one moved. Special Prosecutor Evan Rourke stood for the state. He looked tired, not corrupt. He had received the file, read the reports, and prepared the case he thought existed. He called Harlan first. Harlan walked to the stand in dress uniform. He lifted his right hand. He swore to tell the truth. Graham did not move when the oath ended. Rourke asked about the stop. Harlan said Mara crossed the center line. Rourke asked about the search. Harlan said he smelled marijuana. Rourke asked where the narcotics were found. Harlan said beneath the passenger seat. Rourke asked about Mara's demeanor. Harlan said nervous, combative, evasive. Every word landed in the record. Every word stayed there. When Rourke finished, Judge Vale turned to Graham. Cross. Graham stood slowly. Officer Harlan, you are certain Ms. Whitfield crossed the center line? Yes. You are certain you smelled marijuana? Yes. You are certain the narcotics came from beneath the passenger seat? Yes. Not from your hand? Harlan's face hardened. No. Not from your pocket? No. Not from any part of your uniform? Harlan leaned toward the microphone. I found the narcotics exactly where I said I found them. Graham nodded once. Thank you. That was when Mara finally looked at Harlan. Not with anger. With completion. Graham turned to the judge. Your Honor, the defense offers impeachment evidence. A synchronized video file, cloud upload manifest, and fuel station canopy export, all authenticated by an independent digital forensics report. Rourke stood. Your Honor, the state has not reviewed this material. Graham kept his voice even. The witness has just testified under oath to facts directly contradicted by the evidence. The defense is offering it for impeachment. Judge Vale looked at Harlan, then at Graham. Play it. The courtroom monitors came alive. The first frame showed Mara's car under the fuel station canopy. Windows down, hands visible, no sudden movement. The next angle came from inside the cabin. Harlan leaned into the passenger side. His left hand dropped to his cargo pocket. The small bag appeared between his fingers before his hand ever reached the floorboard. No one gasped. The silence was worse. The video paused on a frame clear enough that even the back row could see it. Graham said nothing for 3 seconds. Then he asked, Officer Harlan, would you like to revise your answer? Harlan swallowed. That video is altered. Graham lifted one page. The cloud manifest shows upload completion before booking. The file hash matches the original. The fuel station export confirms the same timing from the canopy camera. Rourke sat down slowly, his face drained. Judge Vale leaned forward. Officer Harlan, remain where you are. A deputy stepped toward the witness stand. In the second row, Nolan Price stood up before anyone called his name. His voice came out thin. There was no smell. Harlan turned. Nolan. Nolan did not look at him. She did not cross the line. I signed the supplemental because he told me to stay consistent. I knew it was wrong. Judge Vale ordered Nolan sworn immediately. His statement was taken on the record. Then she dismissed the charge against Mara Whitfield with prejudice. The words were quiet. They still broke the case in half. Officer Victor Harlan is remanded for direct criminal contempt, pending referral for perjury, evidence tampering, malicious prosecution, and civil rights violations under color of law. The deputy removed Harlan from the stand. His badge was not taken in front of the cameras. It was taken in the courthouse holding room, logged on a property sheet, and sealed in a gray envelope. That was better. It made it official. Before sunset, Harlan's request to retire in lieu of discipline was denied. His employment status changed to terminated for cause. His certification file was sent to the state board with a hearing transcript attached. Within a week, Paul Reddick's union statement was retracted in writing. The same office that had called Harlan a decorated veteran now had to acknowledge that the court had authenticated video evidence contradicting his sworn testimony. District Attorney Celia Grant reinstated Mara and opened a conviction review docket for every case where Harlan had served as arresting officer or search officer. Nolan Price was suspended and placed under a cooperation order. His false supplemental report remained in his file. So did his corrected testimony. The city adopted a new conflict stop protocol. Any officer connected to a pending misconduct probe could not initiate or search a prosecutor, witness, or complainant without independent supervisory review. Narcotics discoveries by officers with evidence complaints required camera status review, evidence barcode timing, and outside approval before charging. Junior officers received a protected channel to correct coerced reports before hearing. 3 months later, the first calls went out from the conviction review unit. Not press releases. Calls. A man whose probation had started from a Harlan search. A mother whose son had pleaded to possession after a traffic stop. A mechanic who had lost his license because a bag appeared in his glove box. Their cases were not cleared that day, but they were no longer closed. Mara sat alone in her office after sunset. On her desk were 2 documents. Harlan's sworn affidavit, the Cloud Manifest. One was ink. One was metadata. She opened the conviction review spreadsheet and changed the first case status from closed to reopened. Then she removed the black lapel pin from her blazer, placed it in the top drawer, and slid the drawer shut. This is a fictional story created to reflect procedure, accountability, and institutional reform.